Hi parents, this is Dr. Leslie Blevins with Enilda Clinic at enildaclinic.com. Today we're discussing why smart kids or bright kids worry and the other difficulties they may have. So, your bright kid, I bet they explore and they love to link different connections together, and they like to pick up on adult conversations. So you know you have a bright kid whenever they are getting into things that are above their age level and they are keeping you on your toes. And so they also might come up with difficulties that you weren't anticipating. Like maybe they start to have anxieties that, maybe they're clinging to you, or anxieties about world conflict or climate change, or just anxieties about you getting sick or their sibling getting sick. Little worries that you think are kind of above and beyond, kind of going the extra mile more than what is reasonable. And so let's talk about what's going on with these bright kids and why they seem to have some difficulties that are just maybe more particular to them than what we see across the scope of other children. And so the big thing that's going on with bright kids is their development overall. So we have development in different domains. We have physical development, so things like your height or your gross motor skills like running, and then you have fine motor skills like writing. And then you also have emotional development, so that would be learning how to regulate your emotions, how to use a coping skill to calm down. You have language skills, so that would be expressing your needs, listening and understanding what somebody else is saying. You have your intellectual skills, so that would be a variety of different things. One of the big ones would be understanding and piecing together patterns in the environment, just so that you understand cause and effect. And so whenever we think about all these different domains of functioning in your typically developing child, many times the development, even though it's not totally equal, it's going to be roughly around the same as far as their age goes. So if you have an 8-year-old, their development is going to be around 8 years old. With your brighter children, especially whenever they start to get very bright in the more gifted range, then the development starts to become much more unequal, because let's say that their intellectual capacities are really far up there. That's what we're measuring with giftedness, right? Their capacity to put together those patterns, to identify cause and effect patterns, things like that. And so if that's really high compared to their same age peers, that doesn't necessarily mean that their social emotional reasoning is also really high as well. That might still be at the 8-year-old level, okay? So if your child is reasoning at a 12-year-old level, but they're only 8, their social emotional skills might also be at an 8-year-old level. That's a 4-year difference. And so what we start to see with brighter children is that they're actually taking in information from the world and from their environment, and they don't necessarily have the processing skills to cope with that information. We also start to see a discrepancy with these children because they do like to engage with more complex topics, and so to interact with their same age peers is not quite as interesting. So they start to be drawn into interacting with older children or even adults who have better skills at listening and even talking about these more interesting topics. And so they are actually soliciting these more complex ideas that tend to be scarier for them. Again, examples might be climate change. And so what we tend to see is that these brighter kids are by far gaining access to information that is possibly above their social emotional reasoning skills. This can bring out things like anxiety. It can bring out difficulties like transitioning across different activities of the day. And so one of the big things that I want you as parents to think about if you're dealing with a bright kid is that to kind of put it into perspective, right? Because you're dealing with a lot of excellent raw material, and you know that your kid has tons and tons of potential. And so I want you to kind of think about, how do I hone this in? How do I help little Johnny or little Betty to really kind of put in perspective the information that they're getting on a day-to-day basis? And you get to become their emotion coach. And so by helping them to start to step back from the individual thoughts they're having, which can be quite distressing, but to kind of start to step back and understand that we have emotional responses to every thought that we have. And that's just our body's way of helping us to be adaptive. And to start using those emotional responses to know that we can start to choose how we want to live a life, and how we can be in line with the values that we choose for ourselves. So in that way, parents can actually coach their children and their bright children to start to be on a pathway to live in accordance with what they believe in. So as your child is gaining information about all these different world events, or the fact that, yeah, you know what, grandma and grandpa, sometimes they do get sick, or sometimes things just do happen, they can actually put that information to use in accordance with how they want to live. Maybe it spurs an interest in learning about medicine, or maybe it spurs an interest in developing new energy sources. And so you can actually build the bridge for them to be proactive, and to understand also that the information that they're getting in the world many times is coming from news sources that are only focused on the interesting information. Lots of times there's much more mundane, more common information out there that doesn't get picked up by news sources. And so helping them to put into perspective that we have a lot more mundane, common thoughts in our day-to-day life that they aren't responding to with extreme emotions, and helping them to see that for what it is too. There are more moments during the day when we're calm and chill and relaxed, and helping them to understand that too. So all of this is to say that you guys as parents get to be the emotion coaches for your bright kids at home. I think it's really important to notice too that for school, especially for bright kids, they're really focused on pushing the academics. They're seeing all this potential there. They really want to see the kids grow and to give them all the best opportunities to help them get into college and all of this. And what you're probably seeing at home is, well, gosh, you know, they can't deal with change. They have a rule given to them, and if we need to bend that rule because there's a change in our day, they kind of lose their mind. And so you're seeing the difficulties they have on the social emotional realm. And so I really want you guys as parents to understand that it's okay to focus on being that social emotional coach to help them to make the most of the assets that they have. Okay, there's tons and tons of specific skills that you can learn to help your child as they're growing up. And a lot of this starts from when they're very young. You know, in the toddler years, the child can be pretty rambunctious and exploring and breaking boundaries. And, you know, some of this is personality-wise, but that can go all the way up through teens. I've also seen the personality where the child is extremely rigid and wants to learn the rules and has difficulty breaking the rules, right? And so that creates a lot of difficulties for the family if they ever want to start to do something new or have, you know, fun and go on a vacation, things like that. And so I think it's important to understand that your child is unique and that you're really trying to give them those social emotional skills that are going to benefit them for their specific strengths and their specific needs. So I do have a book recommendation for you today. It's called Why Smart Kids Worry. I recognize that my video is probably flipping it, so I apologize for that. It's by Allison Edwards, and it's a great little tool that goes into the whys of you know, everything I just talked about, but it also gives you some good resources and strategies for working with your child. Also, you can always reach out to me at enildaclinic.com, and if you're in the Spokane, Washington area, I would love to work with parents on giving them some resources to work specifically with their children. Keep in mind that this video is just educational. If you have specific concerns for your child, always reach out to their pediatrician. Thank you so much, and that is it for today. See you next time.